Okay guys, welcome to this week's Friday Waffle. Excuse me. I'm going to try and resist rubbing my eyes like I always seem to do as soon as I start this video, but I'll probably do it in a wee bit anyway. Okay guys, welcome to this week's Friday Waffle. It's been an absolute sod of a week. Don't mind admitting that. You know, every now and again you have a bad day, every now and again you have a bad week. Well, this week's been one of them. It's just been an absolute garbage week for a multitude of reasons, none of which I'm going to go into, but nothing too bad, nothing that I can't cope with. So I'm completely relieved it's Friday. I've just had a Chinese takeaway and it was delicious, don't mind admitting that. As you can see, I've not even got changed out of my work clothes. Excuse me. I just had a crap week. What have I been doing? Video games wise, nothing. I've not been playing any games at all other than the games that I've been playing to make videos with. I did I did make a video. One of my mates told me about a Frogger remake on the Commodore 64, which I had a look at, and what I decided to do is make a video. I played the Commodore 64 version, then I played the arcade version. I just had one game of each of them, and what I decided to do was overlay them side by side, and then make a video out of that. Now I put the video out, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. And what is incredible about the video is just how much how identical the two games are. I mean, the timing, even the timing in the games is absolutely spot on. But even more incredible was both the games actually ended. It was like game over within about 2 or 3 seconds of each other. So it just shows you that the guys that put together the actual remake, they must have got the playability just spot on, the difficulty level. But yeah, go and check it out. I put it up last night. It's an interesting video just to see just how good the conversion is. And it's I know you'll find this hard to believe, but I've come up with a new feature. What the hell did I call it? I was originally going to call it Is the 8-bit scene dead? What did I call it? You know, I can't even remember what I called it. No, is the 8-bit scene, are 8 bits washed up my arse? And I thought that doesn't sound very good. Are 8 bits washed up my arse? No. So I decided to call it Are 8 bits washed up? Hell no. So that is the name of the new feature. And basically what I'm going to do is there's a load of new games for old machines. There's a thriving scene for 8-bit machines, the Spectrum, Commodore 64, bringing out brand new games. So any brand new game, I mean, I've got a few of these new games before, and I've always just done it as a sort of a waffle, not a waffle, a mashup. But I thought, nah, because people would maybe see that and not realise it's a new game. So I thought, if I bring out this new playlist thing, any game you see me playing in that is a brand new game, or maybe a couple of years old, whatever. So hopefully that should be good fun. But yeah, the Frogger video I put out last night seems to be going down really, really well, which is great. But watch it. It's quite interesting just to see how good the C64 one actually is. Anything else I've been doing this week? I couldn't go, and I was quite disappointed. I couldn't get along to the computer club. We have our monthly computer club, and it was on Wednesday. Now, the reason I couldn't go was because I have started guitar lessons. Now, I think I mentioned that. I was along for my second lesson on Wednesday there, and yeah, still feel completely out of my depth. I mean, I was talking to one of the guys, and he's been going for 6 years. So he's been playing 6 years. I've been playing for 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks. You know, I've literally had four hours off it. So it's going to take a long time. I actually plan to try and pick up a second-hand acoustic guitar tomorrow, because I'm the only person that goes along to guitar lessons without a guitar. I do have a plectrum, however, so yeah, I'm going to try and buy that tomorrow. But that's been it. Not done very much. I've been getting back out running quite a bit, which is really good. I'm feeling a lot better. I've still got a bit of kind of phlegm in my throat, which is quite annoying. I got to constantly keep clearing it. I can't think of anything else that I've been doing. I said I've not played up. I've got the dog. Right, come on. Right, go and lie down. Don't you dare nudge that. Don't nudge the tripod. I not played any video games at all. I need to get back into. I was playing Skyrim for quite a while, and I've not played it for about 2 weeks. Just had other things on at the moment. So anyway, listen. I don't have any topics to talk about at all, because this week has just been mental busy. But I do have a plethora of questions, which should be more than enough. Before I forget, just before I printed out these questions, my good mate Tony, Retronic Collector, he commented on my Friday Waffle, and he said that he'd enjoyed my last week's waffle that much that he'd actually watched it a second time. That is dedication to you, Tony. So thank you very much, mate, for that. I certainly, it's bad enough watching any of my videos once, never mind twice. But you know what? Just it's hearing stuff like that. It's mental. It gives you a kind of warm, fuzzy glow in your tummy when you hear it, getting support like that. So thanks, Tony. So hopefully this one won't disappoint. So anyway, to kick things off, let's batter right in, Mr. Acidonia. As I've said before, guys, when I read these questions out, I don't even look at them. I mean, I copy and paste them, and that's it. I don't read them. So sometimes I will get to a question where I'm not able to answer it or whatever. So let's batter in. Acidonia, he asks, number one, the other day I was playing Lego Dimensions on the Xbox 360, and with the new content update, it somehow corrupted my save file, and to make things worse, my copy, despite not being damaged, loves to crash at the second level of the story, so I'm locked out of that mode at the moment. Have you ever had similar problems with save files or hardware? Bloody hell, that's a bit naff, that, is it not? I can't say I have. I mean, I probably play far less current games than a lot of people, but I can't say I've ever had any issues with save files on any kind of modern console. I can't even think if I've had any problems with save files over the years. What I used to sometimes do, a bit silly, but back in the day when you played stuff like Doom, you'd constantly save. Doom was one of these games you could just constantly save it, get past a baddie save, get past another baddie save, and you'd sometimes end up with like half a dozen or a dozen saves. And back then, when your hard disk was maybe, not even a gig in size. I mean, that's how small. My first hard disk from a PC was 512 meg, and you literally used to have programs which would scan the system files to delete, is it orphan files they call it, basically files. It's when Windows deletes a program, but it doesn't always delete the files that are attached to it. Excuse me very much. Oh, dearie me. I could edit that out, but you know me, I'm not going to bother. Such was, space, hard disk space was so valuable back in 1995 that you would run a scan and it would maybe save you like 1 gig. Oh, pardon me, now I've got the bloody hiccups. So yeah, I used to sometimes, my logic would think, well, if I've got 10 Doom saves, that's taking up space that I can ill afford, so I would delete the other 9, and on the very odd occasion I'd end up deleting my most current one. So that's the only time I've had that. I can't say I've ever experienced a game corrupting it. That's a bit naff though, and you're saying that the actual disc won't work either. I would seriously think about taking the disc back. I don't know if you bought it brand new, because at the end of the day you're just going to swap it for the same game kind of thing. So that's a bit naff. I hope you get it sorted. And number 2, Are there any games you tried really hard to find but could never find, or it took years to find? For me, it was the Skull Monkeys on PS1, a 2D platformer where everything was made and animated out of clay by the creator of Earthworm Jim. I've never seen that. That sounds quite interesting. Skull Monkeys. My brother had a copy and sold it years ago. It must have took me over 8 years to find another copy in the wild. The only recent game that I'd been after for quite a long time on eBay as well, and I did eventually get it. I got it, I think it was one of the retro gaming event things in Glasgow, and it was Gradius 5 for the PlayStation 2. Yeah, I was after that. I did have a pirate copy, but I wanted the original, and I did eventually manage to track it down. That's been the only game I can think of. Yeah, I think it is. I wanted that for quite a long time. So Gradius 5 it was. That was on the PS2. So thanks for your questions, mate. Now, these next 4 batches, these are questions that the guys asked me last week, but because I had quite a few, I had to cut them out because, you know, we don't want this thing dragging on and on and on. So, Mr. Doug Scullery, excuse me, why are the graphic rendering speeds not improved even though you have this running on a system? Oh, you were referring, I cut a bit out. Sorry, why are the graphic rendering speeds not improved even though you have this running on a system which is probably 50 times more powerful than the original system? Yeah, I can remember what Doug's talking about. I did a video a few weeks ago of Screamer, which was a racing game on the PC, and what Doug's saying there is the fact that when it came out, you know, 20 years ago, obviously the processor speed was a lot slower, so it had to render it, you know, and you could actually see, and you're driving along, you can actually see the landscape kind of getting built up in front of you. That was a very common thing, especially in the early days, like the PlayStation and that kind of stuff. But what Doug's asking here is, you know, I'm running this game on a system, and he's probably right, 50 times more powerful, so why do you still get the thing rendering? I'm no techno wizard at all, as you probably know. I'd probably say it's down to the way the program has been written. It's more to do with the software than the hardware, I would imagine, Doug. I'm not too sure. I'd imagine that would be the case. And then you make a good point here. Are emulators like this too? For example, a very powerful modern PC running a PS1 emulator, would it cure the pop-up factor in many games, or would they still be just like the original? Again, Doug, I would imagine you'd still get the pop-up. It's the way the game draws the game. I mean, if an emulator was to run the game maybe twice the speed it should be, then the pop-ups would be a lot quicker, if that makes any sense. But because you want an emulator to run a game at 100%, I mean, you know, when I play a Commodore 64 game, I can put it on to like 2000% speed, which is just silly. So you want an emulator, a good emulator will always run at 100% clock speed off the original hardware. So I would imagine if you're playing a PS1 game at 100% speed, then the pop-up is going to be the same. But if you ramped up the speed, then the pop-ups would be quicker. Does that make sense? Who knows? I don't know. But anyway, listen, Doug, thanks for that, mate. Just have a wee drink of my delicious milk. Okay, right. The rather infamous Down the Rabbit Hole. Thank you, Kev. Again, Kev asked these questions last week, but just because of the number of stuff I had, I thought we'd leave it until this week. I have a few questions regarding your computer club. What is the most modern console or computer you've seen brought to the club? Most modern console. I was guilty of taking my PS4 along when I first got it. I think I got it that week and I took it along. It's never been back. You know, I don't think anybody brings along Xboxes, or, well, you might see an original Xbox, but what you won't see is a PS3 or an Xbox 360. The most modern hardware, I suppose, would be the Oculus Rift. One of the guys, used to bring his Oculus Rift a few times, but it's too much hassle. I mean, I take along some of these modern handhelds sort of thing, but in the main cave it is always sort of retro hardware. I mean, I suppose you could say the Retro Pi is a modern bit of hardware, but we're using it to run old games. But in the main, it's always going to be original hardware. You know, your Spectrums, your BBCs, Ataris, whatever it is. I think would probably be. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're not snobs as far as old games go. I mean, if somebody brought along an Xbox 360, there's no way anybody would criticise that person. But you know, we've all got Xbox 360s. We want to play the old systems. I mean, you know, going along and playing a ColecoVision or something you don't have. ColecoVision's a bad example because I've actually got one. But yeah, it is generally sort of old hardware, Kev. Yeah. What? Here we go. What's the largest item anyone has ever brought in? What's the smallest? I could probably put my hand up for both of these categories. Actually, the largest item would be, before I got that MAME cab, I used to have a cocktail MAME cab. Now I think I did I ever do, I think I might have made a video of it right at the very start before I got rid of it. Yeah, I think I did. It was a cocktail MAME cab and it took 2 people to carry it, and one week I decided to take that, and it took me and my mate to carry it downstairs, and it was pretty scary taking it downstairs. I mean, to be honest, it's probably a bit silly actually doing that. I mean, the thing is, I got it downstairs into the back of the car, got to the computer club, switched it on, and it was dead. And it turns out the motherboard inside, I mean, because I never moved the what do you call it, the cocktail cab, it never got moved. The motherboard wasn't actually screwed in place. And what happened was there was a screw that was actually sticking up. I think it was holding one of the casters in place. The motherboard actually moved onto the screw, and it was like shortened it, whatever it was. And once I moved the motherboard back, it started working again. But it was the one and only time I took my MAME cab along. It's just silly. I thought, I'm not going to risk damaging it again. I mean, I've taken that thing along once, but you know, they're just a bit too big, and you don't want to. You're always, every time you move something like that, you're always running the risk of it falling, or you could trip up, anything like that, you know, and it would smash to pieces. So it's just not worth the risk. As far as the smallest things go, let me think. I have taken along my Gameboy Micro. Has there been anything smaller? I don't think so. Nah, I don't think so. I mean, one of my mates, Neil, he tends to take along little gizmos. But as far as the smallest thing goes, I'd probably say one of the handhelds, probably my Game Boy Micro. But yeah, I tend to find that handhelds, they don't go down too well at the games at the club, because basically everybody's got them anyway, and you'd much rather sit and play a game in a big TV than sit and, you know, a handheld sort of thing. But yeah, how noisy can it get during the evening? Very, very noisy. I mean, there's only usually about, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 of us go along, and it's always very noisy. What happens is, the first person who sets their machine up will obviously have the volume set to a certain length or certain level. Then the next person will come along and he can't hear his game, so he'll turn the volume up. Then the next person, they'll turn the volume up to try and, so they can hear it. And basically what ends up happening is you've got maybe half a dozen systems all with the volume turned up. Invariably there's always one system, usually Sega games. I don't know why Sega are always very noisy games. The volume in them seem to be a lot more than any other games, but it is very, very noisy. And then you've got us talking as well, sort of thing. So yeah, excuse me. I know things like trivia games, or even the new Switch 1-2 Switch game from Nintendo require players to be able to hear clearly, and I'm curious if you can during a typical club Sorry, typical night at the club. So I know things like trivia games, right, okay, yeah, you'll be able to hear. We've never actually played any of these games, Kev. I mean, most of the stuff that we play tends to be kind of arcadey type games, so as much as the sound's important, it's not paramount to the game that it would affect, you trying to play it. So, no, I can't say we've ever played any kind of trivia game where you rely 100% on the sound as such. And lastly, Kev's asking, your friend who made the Outrun LCD panel, does he make other devices? Yeah, you're talking about Neil. Neil, he probably wouldn't mind me calling him a kind of bit of a boffin. He loves kind of dabbling with electronic things. He buys all these weird and wonderful things from China. And what Kevin's referring to here is Neil bought an LCD screen, not LCD, what's it called? An LED, yeah, LED screen, and it had like 64 by 64 coloured dots. And what he did was he bought two of them, and then he got Outrun actually running on it. And what he's done now, I mean, at the club night this week, which I couldn't go to, I think he's got something like 6 screens now, and he actually was playing Doom. He was playing Doom in this thing, and it just looks amazing. It looks really, really good. But yeah, Neil, he always builds a lot of some weird and wonderful things, using the Pi, the Retro Pi, and that kind of, not Retro Pi, Raspberry Pi, I should say. Yeah, he likes to kind of mess about with electronics and that kind of stuff. But that's been the first thing that thing that he's brought along that's been really, really went down so well. It's just, I think it's brilliant what he does. Clever guy. I dare say if you bought enough of these panels, if you bought like 100 of them, you'd end up with some like 4K picture, But yeah, he's a clever guy, and like I says, he tends to, he does his own thing. He'll bring along all these weird and wonderful things, but that was definitely my favourite. So anyway, Kev, listen, thank you very much for that. Anyway, thanks, Kev, as usual, for your sterling questions, mate. Right, moving on. Mr. Retronic Collector Tony, thanks again, mate. Always appreciate your questions. Right, number one, you won £25,000 on a scratch card. What would you spend the money on? Ah, bloody hell, Tony! If you're not sending me to desert islands, you're giving me £25,000. What would I spend it on? Right, let's establish some house rules. For the purpose of me answering this question, I am single, with no family, mortgage, or worrying about a job, anything like that. Because in the real world, I'd probably pay a bit of my mortgage off and go on holiday with the family. But we're talking about a retro gaming channel, so just imagine that I'm single and I'm greedy and I've not got anyone else to worry about. I win 25 grand. What would I buy? I would probably buy, I would buy an MG midget sports car, one of the orange ones, the little sports cars with the soft tops, one of the classic ones from I think the 70s. I would also buy an original Volkswagen camper van. I've always wanted a camper van because I could jump in it and just travel. I could just drive anywhere I want. I could drive up the Highlands or wherever and just go for a run and then come back to the van and crash out, make a cup of tea and then go to sleep. I would love a VW camper van. And the last thing I would buy, because there wouldn't be much money left, in fact probably 25 grand would all go in the camper van, but sports car, camper van, MG midget camper van, sorry, MG midget and a VW camper van. And I think I'd have to go for a full-size Robotron arcade machine. I was kind of torn between that and Galaxian, but I think it would have to be Robotron. Yeah, that's it. Robotron arcade machine, MG midget sports car, orange, one number off, and a Volkswagen camper van. So that would soon take care of my money. But in reality, Tony, I would probably pay the mortgage off, or pay part of it off, I should say. I wish it was 25 grand. But anyway, right, number 2. Top 5 Game Boy Color games. That's if you have a Game Boy Color. Interesting point, Tony, I don't actually have a Game Boy Color. I did own one. I did buy one when they first came out. And then I think, what happened? I think I then bought the Game Boy Advance, and I gave the Game Boy Color away. I gave it to my cousin, actually. It's a console that I don't have any real affinity to. It was out for quite a short period of time, so I can't say there's any games. If you were to ask me to name 5 Game Boy Color games, I would actually struggle. I would really struggle to name any. What are you actually asking here? The top 5. So what I'm going to do, in fact, the only game I can think of that I played in the Game Boy Color, it was one of these Nintendo Game & Watch collections, where, you know, it's like, is it Ball and Mole? You know, they're just reaction games. That was the only game. I remember being on holiday and I played that non-stop. So it wasn't even a proper game, it was a retro compilation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat a wee bit and I'm going to tell you 5 of my favourite Game Boy games. The first one, my favourite game, bar none, is Tetris. That's absolutely stonking game. It's simple. You know exactly what you need to do. It's a game that appeals to ladies, girls, whatever. I mean, you know, not to say that there's not plenty of girls that enjoy other games, but you know, in my experience, women generally don't enjoy video games, but they like Tetris. It's such a simple game. It's one of these games. The more you play it, it gets into your head. And before you know it, you're sitting watching TV and you're imagining. I'm even doing it now. I'm looking at my speaker, and you can just imagine your TV is a brick and it's coming down. You need to turn that, rotate it. Tetris is a fantastic game. Batman. Yep, that was an original. That came out right at the beginning. Batman is basically I'm going to say a rip off of Super Mario World, which is going to be another one of my games. Both games infinitely playable. Graphically wise, are not that good, quite basic, but they just suit the Game Boy that well. Really good. Both games are quite similar, but they're perfectly suited to the handheld. That's 3 games. Number 4, I'm going to go for tennis. It was one of the first games that came out. Excuse me. Brilliant game. It's quite a simplistic tennis game, but it's so playable. And the last one, I'm going to go for golf. And that's what it was called. It wasn't called Nintendo Golf, it was just called Golf, released by Nintendo. Again, similar to the tennis game, it was featured Mario. Now, all the games that I've mentioned, golf, tennis, Tetris, and Super Mario Land, they were all very early games, because I didn't actually have the Game Boy for that long. Once I got, what did I get? I don't know. I had to sell. Back then, I can even remember selling it to a guy. I can even visualise the guy coming to buy it. I had about maybe 20 games for it in these little cardboard sort of box things. Back then, if you wanted a new machine, you had to sell what you had. So I had to sell the Game Boy to fund, I don't know what it was I got. Was it the NES? Not the NES, was it the SNES possibly? I don't know. But yeah, that's my 5 favourite Game Boy games. As for the colour games, Tony, I never really played the system that much, and I don't even have a Game Boy Color. I mean, I can play Game Boy Color games on numerous handhelds that I've got. And to be honest with you, playing it on the modern handhelds is way better because the screen's backlit. The Game Boy Color was not backlit. So I think it's definitely a case of modern technology allows you to play older games in a better way. So anyway, great question again, mate. Excuse me. Number 3, excuse me. Dearie me. Number 3, top 5 favourite games on the BBC Micro. Now the BBC Micro wasn't a computer I had many dealings with at all. In fact, never. It's only been since, I mean, I've got a BBC computer there, which I got about maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, maybe a bit more. 5 games. Now, I couldn't name that many. I might be struggling to name 5 games that I've really played. Got to go for... Nah, you know what, I was going to say Elite, but I've never played Elite in the BBC. I always mean to play it, but I've just never got round to it. 5 games on the BBC. One of them is an excellent game, and I have played it quite a bit, and it's Frack. Actually, my mate Ian Boffin, he actually did the graphics for Frack. It's an amazing looking game. You play the part of a caveman, and you jump from platform to platform, and there's these large big monsters, and you use a kind of yo-yo thing to take the monsters out, and you pick up gems and that kind of stuff. It's quite a frustrating game, but it's an excellent game. Number 2, blimey, number 2 would possibly be, is it Zalaga, which is a really, really good clone of Galaga. But the thing is, it not the same guy? I'm sure it was the same person. Is it Orlando is the name of the guy that wrote Zalaga and also Frack? I'm sure that's the case. Number 3. Blimey, you know what, I'm actually kind of struck. I mean, I could name other BBC games, but games that I've actually played. I would be struggling. I could just name another. I could say Repton, Elite, whatever, but I didn't really play them. That, you know what, Tony, I'm not even going to try and think of any other ones because I have played so little BBC games that these are the only 2 that I've played for any length of time. So yeah, apologies about that, Tony, but another good question. And lastly, here we go, another one of your fantasy questions. You go away on holiday for a month to Spain, and you have to choose 4 items to take with you, gaming related. What gaming related items would you take and why? That's another fine question. First one would be, I would take my not my GPD, I would take my Nvidia Shield, because I can play all the different systems on it. In fact, that would probably be about the only one I'd really need, because I've got access to all these systems, MAME, Mega Drive, SNES, C64, you name it, I can play on it. Gaming related items. Bloody hell. Nah, again, it's another one of these things, Tony. I can play all my systems on my Nvidia Shield Portable, it's called. So I would be kind of struggling to think of any another 4 gaming related items. Is there anything up there that would take? I don't think there is. Would this count? Would this count as a gaming related item? It's certainly a nostalgia one. A Rubik's Cube, never ever could manage it. I did actually cheat. I did use a book many years ago to complete the Rubik's Cube. So yeah, I guess that counts as a gaming related item. I would take my Rubik's Cube. I would take my my handheld. And I can't think. You know what else I would take? Yeah, I would take my little piecade thing. I'll just go and let you see it. You know what? Stuff it. In fact, yeah, I'll just I'll lift it and let you see it. There it's there. Can you see it? Oh, wait a minute. Nah, you can't really see it. Well, you can see it roughly. There it's there, my little my little RetroPie thing. Right, Archie, out the road, son. Out the road. I'll put this down again. Right, is that straight? That'll do. Yeah. Anyway, Tony, thank you for that. I love your questions because you always take me to exotic places and give me lots of money. More, keep them coming, mate. Brilliant. Right, and lastly, I have got Batman. Which era's games have held up the best playability wise in your view? 8-bit or 16-bit? I'm focusing this question predominantly to computers, not PCs, rather than consoles. Excuse me. I was going to answer that there and I just thought about it. I think it really depends on the games. I mean, there's a massive percentage of 8-bit games which are just garbage, absolute garbage. Excuse me. And it's the same with the 16-bit games. There's a lot of, you know, crap out there. There's some awesomely playable games on the 8-bit machines, and there's some awesomely playable games on the 16-bit. I mean, I'm thinking 16-bit wise, you know, all the sort of sensible games, your sensible soccer and that kind of stuff. I would probably, if I was being pushed to make a decision, make a choice, I'd probably go for 8-bit. I think simply because the 8-bit machines, the graphics weren't particularly good. Don't get me wrong, there were some games and some systems which just looked amazing. But it really, because the graphics weren't great, you really depended on the playability aspect to be top notch. And there are some games that just look awful, but the playability is fantastic. I mean, I'm going to name it again. Super Pipeline 2, Commodore 64. The graphics are passable, but it's the playability. It's the same with Man 8 Miner. I mean, that is a ridiculously playable game as well. One of the classic games is Bounty Bob Strikes Back or Miner 2049er. Absolutely hideous looking games, but the playability is just top notch. So yeah, I'd probably go for the 8-bit games, I think. Yeah, I would go for the 8-bit, the Spectrum, Commodore 64, Amstrad, BBC, Atari, just because, I says, the games, they couldn't rely on the graphics to sell them, they had to rely on the actual gameplay. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, a few years into the sort of the life cycle of these machines, people were starting to get to grips with graphics as well. But there's some awesome games, there's a lot of awesome games on the Commodore Amiga and Atari ST, but if I was being pushed to make a choice, then I'd have to go with the classic 8-bit titles. So another great question again, thank you for that. And lastly, I have recently been playing some MSX games via emulation and have really been enjoying them. What are your opinions on this system? I'm going to ask you, what emulator do you use for MSX? There's one called, is it Blue Emulator, something like that it's called. It's the only emulator I can actually find for it, and it looks really nice. The emulator itself looks really nice, but I find a lot of games I kind of struggle to get them to load. I'd be really interested if you could let me know what emulator you use for the MSX. It's because of that I've not really got any experience of playing many games in the system. I do remember back in the day in computer and video games seeing pictures of was it Track and Field, I think it was, and I always remember thinking that looked amazing. But I can't say I've really, there's not really any games I could mention because I don't have an MSX. I did actually have an MSX a few years ago and I sold it because I didn't have any games for it, and I didn't have any way of loading games for it, so I sold it. I think I swapped it for a Spectrum Plus 2 actually. Yeah, so I don't have any experience with MSX games, unfortunately, to really take any comment on that. But and listen, thank you for the question. So anyway, guys, that is it. Before I start coughing even more and having to clear my throat, I'm going to bring this video to a swift conclusion. Thank you to all the questions this week, lads. It's always appreciated. It really is. Please keep them coming, because this is the perfect example of, if there hadn't been any questions, there wouldn't have been any waffle this week. Because of the crap week I've had this week, I didn't have anything prepared. I didn't even have any time to think about anything. So again, it's the fact that your questions made this waffle happen today. So please keep them coming, guys. Get more questions in for next week. Anything at all, any topic, anything at all. It's always good fun to get that. So that is it, guys. It just leaves me to say thank you very much, as always, to the continual support I get from everybody. It's absolutely wicked. There's been quite a few new subscribers as well, which was great. So if you are a new subscriber, welcome. I hope you enjoy watching the channel. There's tons and tons of stuff to watch, especially if you like the old systems. I sort of specialise in the old systems. If you want to see playthroughs of the PS4 and what have you, you're probably better going elsewhere, because I don't really look at any modern systems. But and listen, guys, it just remains for me to say thank you very much for watching, and have a great weekend.